everyone. Sorry, we're running a little hot behind today, but we are here. Today, we are talking to you about morning and nightly routines that may be interfering with your arthritis and other autoimmune conditions. So, very excited to talk to you guys about this today because I think we can all relate to some of these things. I know I sure can. But before we get started, we'll just quickly introduce ourselves for those of you who aren't familiar with who we are. I am Jessica Melnick. I am a registered holistic nutritionist, the founder of the Anti-Arthritis Method, and the host of the Happy Joints Arthritis Solutions Group. And I help both women and men with various forms of arthritis get back to living life the way that they choose to, not the way that they have to. And Kasie, I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah. I am Kasie Kephart. I'm a functional medicine nutritionist and the founder of the Feel Good Formula. I work with women with all different types of autoimmune diseases to get you back to the activities you love to do and get you pain-free and energized again, basically. And I live in St. Petersburg, Florida, where the sun always shines.
Amazing. So today we're going to start off by talking about things that we are doing in the morning, specifically coffee, that could be contributing to your arthritis or other autoimmune symptoms. So what to consider, especially if you have an autoimmune condition or autoimmune form of arthritis. We're going to go through some of the things about coffee, some of the good things, some of the not so good things, some of the things that you might want to consider. So yes, coffee, good quality coffee has a lot of health promoting characteristics, I guess would be, I'm at a loss for words, but it's not for everybody. So there's some of us who have certain genes that make coffee not such a great choice for us in the morning. So for example, caffeine itself, which you of course find in regular coffee, can be anti-inflammatory for some people. It can protect against neurodegenerative diseases. It can improve your heart health. It can protect against cancer and diabetes, fight depression, increase energy and concentration, improving physical performance, improving asthma control, and lowering your risk of select gastrointestinal diseases. But it's not for everybody. So people who have the genes NAT2 or NAT2 and HLA can sometimes find coffee to be more inflammatory than anti-inflammatory. And so obviously, unless you have genetic testing done, you're not going to know that for sure, unless you are doing the type of elimination and reintroduction that Kasie and I teach in our programs as a way of kind of isolating how coffee would have that effect on you. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Kasie, and let you kind of talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, coffee does not agree with me. And for Jessica, sometimes it does, I think, and sometimes it doesn't. And so in our programs, if some of you are clients right now, you probably looked at our protocol and be like, what do you mean I can't drink coffee? Like, coffee is what I drink every single morning. And it doesn't seem like it's harmful, but I guarantee you, but some people, when they eliminate coffee for 30 days, a month, 2 months, whatever it is, they feel a lot better. They feel more clear and energized, less brain fog, less stomach issues. And for me, that was the case. I don't know if I have those genes or not. I haven't looked specifically. But once I quit coffee, my stomach stopped really hurting and I didn't get as gassy and bloated in the morning. My bowels were not off the charts in the morning. Let's just say that. And I realized I did have more energy throughout the day and that I just felt better and more clear. And that's partly because of going caffeine free, right? We get addicted to caffeine. But the gas, the bloating, and the bowels were because of my food sensitivity towards the coffee bean. And that was directly shown on my food sensitivity test too. It was off the charts in red. So my body does not like coffee. And we talked about this before with leaky gut and food sensitivities. Your body can tag literally anything to be a food sensitivity. And coffee is one of those for autoimmune people that could be more triggering for your body and leaky gut than not. So we always recommend to eliminate it, and then let's reintroduce it back again and see if coffee is okay with you. I know I have a great coffee substitute that I use that is amazing just because I love that coffee taste and smell and warmness, but um, it's not worth that digestive distress that I have. And because it was digestive distress for me does not mean that it doesn't show up in pain for you, or eczema and psoriasis and headaches, or wanting to take a nap at 10 a.m. So it can present itself in any way possible. So this next, I want to give you an action task. So tomorrow morning, when you drink your morning coffee, throughout the day, kind of see how you feel. When you're drinking it, see how you feel. Are you more gassy and bloating that morning? Um, are you fatigued when you shouldn't be? Things like that, that maybe you just kind of thought it was normal. Kind of look more into it right now and see if you are feeling effects of the coffee.
Yeah, and that just makes me think too, some of us are more sensitive to caffeine than others. And I know
Mhm.
myself, I'm quite sensitive to caffeine. It takes a long time for my body to process it, meaning that if I have caffeine, past like 3 p.m. in the day, it interferes with my sleep. I am definitely not one of those people like my father-in-law who can have a coffee after supper and be able to sleep. Like there's no way that would happen for me. I would be up all night long.
Mhm.
It would be the worst. So if you know that you're sensitive to caffeine, you may want to consider trying a good organic Swiss water decaf blend. Sometimes what I do too is I grind my own beans. So I'll use like a half caffeinated coffee and a half decaf coffee when I make my coffee in the morning, just so that I'm not getting as much caffeine. Because a lot of us can have, like, when you have a sensitivity to caffeine, it's not just interfering with your sleep, but it can also really interfere with your mood, and it can also interfere with your blood sugar, of all things. So
Mhm.
caffeine actually increases your blood sugar. So you can get, or sorry, I'm saying this backwards. It will increase your blood sugar, but what happens is that your blood sugar first will dive, and then you can get that shakiness as your body is trying to get you to replenish those stores. So it's a really tricky thing if you are, dealing with, let's say, type 2 diabetes and or weight loss, and you're trying to keep your blood sugar stable. Too much caffeine can definitely make your weight loss efforts, interfere with that. So in terms of your mood, it can give you, some energy at the beginning, and then you can have a dive, and then feeling really tired and sleepy after. Getting the shakes, I know for me, anxiety, if I have too much caffeine,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, just like um, green tea, for example, is one of those things that actually has L-theanine in it. So
Mhm.
that's great. It still has some caffeine in it, but it has much less than coffee, and the L-theanine actually helps you be alert, but also keeps you calm. So that's a really great thing if you find yourself kind of being shaky or anxious, if you have too much coffee. Feeling irritable along with that anxiety as well. And like I said before, just the difficulty concentrating and feeling like you need a nap, a couple hours after you have your coffee. All good signs that maybe you want to cut back on how much coffee you're having, and or switch to decaf, see if that helps, and maybe switch to also green tea or a lower caffeinated tea. So just some
Mhm.
suggestions. I love the taste of coffee, so a good quality Swiss water decaf for me, it does the trick if I want that coffee taste without all the jitteriness and everything else that goes along with it for me.
Yeah, I do the roasted chicory root tea, and it's really not tea. It tastes like coffee to me. It looks like coffee. It smells like coffee. So I steep that in the morning and drink that, and that's a prebiotic, but it's also caffeine free, and good for the detoxing the liver as well. So all great things, just like green tea would be, or some other quality products that you may find out there. But if you heard,
Oh, I think you froze there, Kasie. Give you a sec here.
Are
I
we
hear you.
frozen?
Yeah, we were frozen.
There we
So,
go.
all right.
If you heard Jessica say like a good quality, we want to stress having a good quality coffee if you are going to drink coffee every single morning. One, if you can tolerate coffee and you've tested this with the elimination diet, not just said, oh, I'm good. We want you to buy a high quality organic coffee, mainly because, at least in America, the coffee bean is one of the most oversprayed beans in America. So, meaning pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, all of the things on it that provides more toxicity to our body. But also some coffee grounds and coffee beans are tested to have some mold on them or mold residue. So we want the coffee beans that you buy to be a high quality because they are probably tested for that level of mold in them. And it's just the way that the coffee is processed in general, and that's why it has these molds and funguses on them. So buy a clean version. The gas station ones are not your best bet. Even a Starbucks one is not your best bet. So into it, do your research on the beans that you get because you're drinking it every day. So that means you're putting toxins in your body every single day that you can totally avoid if you buy a good brand. So if you have any questions on that, put it in the comments and we'll be sure to elaborate a little bit more if we need to.
Absolutely. And so now when we look at our nightly routine, and this is one that I am definitely guilty of, is having wine before bed. Let me tell you why this is not a good idea. And I have definitely noticed as I've gotten older how much it's not a good idea for me. So I got into the habit, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of how old I would have been. Early in my career, I would say, of having the nightly glass of red wine because it was all, oh, one glass of red wine a day. It's heart healthy. It has like antioxidants, the resveratrol, blah, blah, blah. It's good for you. So I would have a glass of wine while I watched TV in the evening. And I found that it made me feel relaxed and it helped me feel sleepy and fall asleep quite easily. But the thing about alcohol before bed is that at some point your liver is going to be processing this. And when that happens, it's going to wake you up in the middle of the night or early in the morning. So you either may be fully conscious at some point, or you might it will be interfering with your deep sleep and your REM sleep. And when you don't have enough deep sleep and REM sleep cycles throughout the night, you are going to wake up in the morning not feeling rested. You're going to still feel tired. You're not going to feel as good as you should. Mm-hmm. So especially if you are someone who has a young family and you're not getting your 8-9 hours of sleep a night and you're consistently sleep deprived, having alcohol before bed on a regular basis is really going to make that so much worse for you. And also, as you age, your ability to process alcohol is not as good as it is when you are younger, as I'm sure some of you have experienced what a hangover feels like in your 40s compared to in your 20s. There is a very big difference. So just something to consider in terms of how alcohol does interfere with your sleep. Also, if you ever had too much to drink, you will have likely woken up in the middle of the night feeling sweaty. And that is also your body really trying hard to process that alcohol. So I know that waking up with hot flashes is never a fun thing for most of us, and having trouble falling back to sleep and just feeling awful in general. So just some of those things to consider. And then there's also things that are in alcohol that we're going to get into as well. So Kasie, did you want to talk about some of the things that are in wine and alcohol in general and how it affects us? And I'll interject too, because I know there's quite a few.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to bring back why we're talking about this as autoimmune disease, right? Like it affects everybody who doesn't have an autoimmune disease too with their sleep. But for people with autoimmune disease, let's say you have RA, you have Hashimoto's, you have MS, you have lupus, whatever it is, if you're not getting good recovery sleep at night, you're doing worse for your disease. So why drink something that directly impacts your sleep and your health? when we need the sleep so much more than, let's say, a generally healthy person does. So that's why we're talking about this, is because it affects us a lot more than it does generally healthy person. And I do that in quotes because what is generally healthy these days? I don't know. But some other things in wine that may be affecting our autoimmune disease, or people in general, let's just say too, is sulfites. So a lot of us have allergies to sulfites, and we might not know it, but I'm not an expert in sulfites, but I do know that, some people turn red when they have too much sulfites. They get itchy skin, but it does affect us internally as well. And these can be naturally occurring too. So wine does have this in naturally occurring processes, I guess you would call it.
You can sometimes find, sorry to interrupt, you can sometimes find wine made without sulfites. It's
Mhm.
just a little trickier, and they're usually organic wines as well. And with organic, that's always a better option because you're not dealing with all these sprays on top of the sulfites. Because in winemaking, and I do know a bit about wine because I do like wine, is that it's really often tricky to make wine without sulfites, because what happens is that the sulfites are actually sprayed on the grapes after they're picking, and they do this in order to keep mold from growing and other things, because it's part of the process. So like I said, it's harder to find wine without sulfites, but you're more likely to find it in an organic brand. And also, if you are in the States, Dry Farm Wines is a website you'll want to check out for low sugar, lower alcohol, organic wines. And I'm sure a lot of those are also sulfite free. So
Yeah.
sorry
I've heard of
to say that before I forgot.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I've heard of that company too and heard good things. So definitely worth trying that. And Jessica just mentioned lower sugar that company has. Sugar is one of the things that are higher in wines, if they're sweeter especially. And we've talked about sugar before for autoimmune disease, but sugar is a systemic inflammatory, just meaning that it is head to toe inflammation for us. And if you have an autoimmune disease, we do not need any more inflammation in our bodies. So it also changes our cortisol levels, which is our stress hormone. So it can make us more heightened, if you want to say, or we're more prone to stress. We're more on that fight or flight level than we are rested and relaxed, which if you drink wine, you might think, oh no, I'm rested and relaxed. But it is altering your hormones
Yeah.
and
Oh,
your cortisol levels in the meat. Are we good?
yeah, you're good. You just froze momentarily.
Okay. Another hormone that wine affects is serotonin, which is your feel-good hormone that makes you happy and excited and all of those feelings. When, again, you're drinking wine and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm happy when I drink wine. I have a great time. But I don't want to compare it to alcoholics, but like we drink because we want to boost that serotonin level, so we kind of get reliant on it, right? But in the end, it's just kind of reducing our serotonin levels in general. And we get used to that serotonin and dopamine boost, and our body kind of like crave it some more. Dopamine Nation is a great book if you want to learn more about that, but I digress. And then it feeds our bacteria and yeast, mainly the sugar I'm talking about, not the wine, but wine has sugar in it. Wine has sugar in it.
And
Um,
all alcohol in general, right?
yes, yes. Well, I mean, if we just talk about taking a shot of tequila, no, right? We're talking mainly about wine, but I guess you could say, like, if we're having a screwdriver, yes, that's going to up your sugar intake as well. So, anything with sugar in it, this is what it does. And feeding on the bacteria and the yeast is going to, when we talk about leaky gut, we want 80% good bacteria, 20% bad. We're now shifting it with the sugar in the wine. So if you have a leaky gut, if you have an autoimmune disease, this can help shift that into a worse state for you. And then a liver suppressor. So we talked a lot about the liver last week. We're going to talk a lot about the liver next week. But it's so alcohol in general, not just wine, is a liver suppressor, meaning like the liver has to work harder than it should to process all of this, and then it starts to get sluggish depending on how much you have. So everything in moderation, right? But when the liver isn't functioning properly, now this impacts the immune system as well. And if we have an autoimmune disease, we don't need anything to hurt our immune system in this process. We need all of the fight we can get with our immune system to help regulate it and bring it down to homeostasis, in balance. So, and then the last one Jessica already mentioned is affects your sleep. So as we know, we need quality sleep for an autoimmune disease.
Yes. So what the heck are you supposed to have instead, right? I'm sure a lot of you are asking that. I know I've asked that too. Especially when you get into the habit of doing that, regularly. It sometimes is tricky to kind of make a shift and do something different. But I know both Kasie and I have come across, some different options in terms of, making a mocktail, maybe getting a natural juice, like a tart cherry juice, a pure cranberry juice, mixing that with some club soda, maybe putting in like a citrus wedge of orange or lemon or lime, something like that. Just getting creative. I know if you go on Pinterest or online, you can find all sorts of mocktail recipes. Just as a side though, because we're talking about how sugar is an inflammatory, you want to keep those as low sugar as possible. And there's also different things, like different products out there in terms of mocktails and alcohol alternatives. I know one I came across, I wish was in Canada, is called apothecary.co, and it's apothecary spelled with a K. And they have these wonderful herbal powdered like blends that you can make different drinks with. So they have alcohol alternatives. They also have other ones for, various purposes. But the alcohol alternative they have has herbs and stuff in it that support your liver, that help you feel calm. And apparently they taste great. I have not tried them myself, but they have really good reviews. Like I said, it's something that I would love to try. I may take my chances with the Canadian border and see if I can get them across just to give them a try. And then Kasie, you had mentioned something called Curious Elixirs. Is that like a made mocktail?
No, they ship it to you and it comes in these brown glass bottles already made. You just put it in a glass, and it's healthy herbs and bitters. Am I frozen again?
I can hear you perfectly. So if you're frozen, I can still hear you.
Okay. Yeah, it's just herbs and bitters and some like club soda and whatever it is. So there's renditions of a mojito, a margarita, a old fashioned. So it's actually really healthy for you because it has those herbs and those bitters in it, which is good for the digestive system. And they kind of act as digestive enzymes for you. And a lot of the mocktails that they have also have like ashwagandha in it, which is just to get that feeling of relaxation and to help you wind down.
Oh, we lost you there for a sec, Kasie. Oh, I could hear you.
Good.
There we go. Yeah, you were just talking about how ashwagandha helps you wind down because it's an adaptogenic herb, correct?
Exactly. And so thank you. I was wanting to use that word. There's a lot of adaptogenic herbs in these mocktails. So it's called Curious Elixirs. They're getting bigger and bigger by the year. I would highly recommend if you're looking to cut alcohol for a little bit, but also just have a good nighttime drink that might curb that craving or that appeal to you than alcohol or wine would.
Yeah. And I think too, having like that kind of colder option, especially in summertime, because I know here, I definitely don't want to drink a warm drink before I go to bed when it's warm outside in the summertime. That doesn't appeal to me at all. So it's nice to have both like hot and cold options.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. So I think the moral of this would be eliminate these two items. If you are unsure about them, even if you're not unsure about them, it's amazing what you can uncover when you quit them. and how much they were actually affecting you. So, I mean, put an action task in place, eliminate it for 7 days, eliminate it for 30 days, whatever you feel compelled to do. And then just know that it's temporary and you can always add it back in if you feel like you are not reactive towards it or it's not affecting your life. But I would urge you to be honest with yourself, because I know I wasn't honest with myself when I quit coffee and I went back on it. And now I've been off it for 9 months now and probably not going to go back on it again. Same thing with the wine. We can all trick ourselves into one glass of wine is good for our hearts, it's good for ourselves. But if it's doing more harm than good, we need to really just be honest and tell us that we can find an alternative and do better without it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone, we are back on Thursday with a special guest. So be sure to attend. It will be a very interesting conversation. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And we'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.